We've been talking about ISO20022 for years, but we've mostly just been talking about the coins. Most of you probably know that a few major coins are connected to ISO20022 and that it's going to be important for mainstream financial institutions. But today, we're going to take a step back to look at the tech and talk about the implications that this has for the global economy. Let's get it.
I'm not a financial advisor.
Welcome to BitBoy X. I'm your host, the BitBoy. If you want more of this alpha that you can't get anywhere else, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more. Stick around till the very end of this video to learn what my favorite ISO20022 coin is.
SWIFT is a global banking network that helps exchange trillions of dollars every day. It stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, a very long name, but you can think of SWIFT as the backbone of the financial services sector. About half of all high-value payments across borders go through SWIFT. It links more than 11,000 banks in 200 plus countries. SWIFT doesn't actually move the money, though. It provides the information about where the money is going and what it's for. So much so, 42 million messages are sent to enable these payments every day. Think about it this way. A country can't just send a bank billions of dollars without telling it what and who it's for. So how does this affect Russia? Well, Russia is the second largest user of SWIFT, only after the United States. Removing Russia will sever the country from much of the global financial system. This will damage its economy right away, and we've already seen that this morning. It will also cut off its profits from oil and gas and limit Russia's federal budget. Now, because they've been cut off from SWIFT, Russia will likely need to use a telephone or a fax machine to send money internationally, and that's if any banks around the world will transact with them at all.
In this video, we're going to break down ISO20022, which is a new standard for communication between international banks. To make it easy for this video, I'm just going to call it ISO, or the ISO standard. This is an essential service for banks because they need to transfer important information about accounts and their balances, and they can't just use public channels because hacks, impersonations, and other attack vectors can be avoided. If you think about it, there are probably a ton of ways that someone could rob a bank just by intercepting that information. The systems that are being used now have been pretty secure for the most part, but they've also been very slow and inefficient. You might be familiar with the SWIFT system. It's an international messaging network that basically has a monopoly on communication between banks. This is different from what ISO is doing, but they fit together. Remember, I said that ISO is a messaging standard and SWIFT is a messaging network, so ISO basically fits into a network like SWIFT. Even though this standard is mostly known for its connection to crypto, it's actually much bigger than crypto. It's an upgrade for the entire global financial system, and it just so happens that blockchain technology will be used to make it happen. Called it. And some crypto projects that we recognize will have a small seat at the table. SWIFT is actually planning on upgrading its outdated systems with the ISO standard. They set a deadline of March of 2025 for the upgrade. It's only about 6 months away. But this standard could also mean the end of SWIFT too, because BRICS countries are also planning on using this standard. Many central banks of these countries and other central banks around the world are actually already using the ISO standard. But it's also likely that anything they work on together will also be compliant. It makes sense. The largest of these would be China's cross-border interbank payment system, which is also called CIPS or KIPS, I think it's CIPS, and already uses ISO. There's also Russia's system for transfer of financial messages, or SPFS, which was developed as a result of the sanctions that cut the country off from the SWIFT network and started the decay of America. I digress. Thank you, Joe Biden. This is one of those blockchain breakthroughs that improves things so much that it's undeniable. And all of these big institutions all over the world have no choice but to adopt it. It's not just more efficient, but it also allows more data to be sent, and it doesn't have the same compatibility that old standards did. In the past, banks and financial institutions usually had their own proprietary systems, or SWIFT had its own closed system. But this is a global standard that they can all tap into. So it will probably make this communication process much faster and cheaper for banks around the world, Yay, banks save money. This even gets into things as simple as language translation, which is actually a challenge in traditional messaging systems. ISO is also built for automation, meaning that once it's adopted, it will allow banks to automate other processes that rely on messaging, which is pretty much everything. ISO will also become a big part of making central bank digital currencies possible, CBDCs. And we can tell that the central banks will be using this standard because both SWIFT and BRICS are. So you know that individual central banks are going to want to be compatible or forced with the standard that is already being adopted. Even the Federal Reserve has announced that it will be adopting the standard for its own internal messaging service. So now that you know about the tech and the geopolitical background, let's get into the crypto connection. Crypto assets will be playing a big role as well, but it's not going to be the entire list from CoinMarketCap. Only blockchain networks that are compatible with the ISO standard will be used in these systems. There are a few different coins that will be compatible, but XRP, it's at the top of the list by itself by far. XRP is the largest ISO compliant coin by market cap, but it's also already seeing adoption from traditional financial institutions, which means that they are probably already working on setting things up. It's a no-brainer. HBAR, IOTA, Stellar, and Quant are also on the list of compliant coins, which makes sense when you think about it, because these blockchains are usually recognized as being a bit corporate and aligned with traditional finance. Now, these coins are not guaranteed to pump just because the ISO standard will be rolling out. Just because they're compliant with the standard doesn't mean the banks will be using them. Well, except for XRP, because banks are already using it. I'm sure that XRP won't be the only ISO compliant crypto asset that benefits from this upcoming shift, but it's definitely in the best position by a long shot. That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.